Hi everyone, in this video I would like to show you a few ways to customize your application look and feel. In a previous session we introduced the theme editor in our visualizer that enables you to do changes for your entire application. For example, if you want to change the color of all the buttons in your application, the right place and the easiest way to do it would be using the theme editor. But if you want to do specific changes for a specific page or specific field in a page, or if you want to do some dynamic changes like enable, disable fields button per some business logic, there are different ways to do that. And I will demo you a few ways of how to do that. So let's start by trying to change the color of this specific field. I always start with trying to change the color with the dev tools, so I will get to the correct CSS definition and then I will see how I can add it to my application. So I'll start by inspecting the element. This is the element that I want to change its style, and here I would put color red, for example. And if I'm satisfied with this definition, if I see that it is doing what I want it to do, now I need to figure out how to add it to my application. And the most easiest way to do that would be to add a CSS definition to my application. And what I will do is I will go to my application, I will get to the common JS and CSS step, go to the common CSS, and here is the place to add any CSS definition that you want to add to your application. So I will use here a CSS selector which is based on the ID of the element. This is how it is done, and here I will put my definition. And now I will refresh the page and see that it was applied correctly. Yes, and it was applied correctly. The color of the text in my field here is red as expected. So this is one way to do it. Another way to do it is using JavaScript, and to do changes, to do CSS changes using JavaScript, the easiest way to do it is to use the jQuery library. Our visualizer includes the jQuery library, and you can use any API of it to ease your way and do your changes. And the jQuery is a very powerful library. It has many APIs that help you to do whatever you want with your page. You can change the style, move around elements, add events, many things. So the correct way to do it with jQuery, and again I will try it here and then take it to the application, the right syntax would be this syntax. I will start with creating a selector to find my element, the element that I want to change. Let's try and change a different field. Let's take this field. So I'll take the ID of this field. And let's do the same change, but this time with jQuery. I will change the style. The way to change the style is to use the attribute method and say I want to add attribute style, and in the style I want to put color green. So this would add a style with color green to this field, and now if I write in this field you would see that the text is in green. So now that I have the correct syntax in jQuery, I can take it and add it to my application. Where would I add it? The correct place would be to go to the page and add it to the load event of the page. So let's go to the create absence. The load event is where it executes the logic upon the page load. Let's see, I don't have an onload event, so I will just add it. I will press the plus sign, select onload, select call custom function, give it a name. And now that I have the onload function, I would put my jQuery API here. So this will change the style. Let me save it. It will be invoked whenever the page loads. So if I refresh the page, it will invoke it. and let's see if it works. Yes, it works. You change the style of this element. So with jQuery, we can do anything. And to invoke it, we just need to take the correct syntax and put it in the right place in our application. Few things that are usually being done with application is to enable, disable buttons or to show and hide buttons. So let's see how we can do that as additional examples. So let's say that I want to hide this button or to disable this button. How would I do that? There is a simple way to do that in jQuery. I will take the button ID. I know it because usually it is the same as the name of the button, but let's inspect it. Here is the ID, it is create. And to hide it, for example, I only need to use the method called hide. If I want to show it again, I would use the method show. So this is the jQuery API to hide and show. And if I want to use it, I can put it anywhere in my application and do this manipulation. If I want to enable or disable a button, the way to do it would be to add an attribute called disabled with the value true, and this will disable the button. And to enable it again, I'll just remove the attribute. This is the jQuery way to do enable disable. It's actually doing manipulations on the DOM. Okay, so this is how I do it with buttons. To enable, disable, show and hide input fields, sometimes it's more complicated because sometimes the input field is constructed of few elements. For example, this list of value is constructed from an input field and then a button, and here there are also few elements that are constructing this input field. So it can be done with jQuery, of course, but since it might involve invoking few APIs to ease it for our users, we added some convenience routines to our visualizer. And if you will open the code assist and go to the fields section, you will find here 4 very useful commands: hide, show, disable, and enable, that enables you to do all this action on your visualizer fields. Each method has the same syntax, it has the method name, and then you can pass it a list of field names, and it will invoke or execute the action on all the fields. So let's try it. Let's try to disable some of our input fields. Let's take this method and just try it out on the dev console. So let's try to disable this list of value. Here it is. I just need to put here the name of the field, and it will do whatever it is needed to do to disable this field. And if I want to enable it again, I'll just write enable. Now, if I want to do it on several fields with one API, as I said, I can just send it as a list of values. Let's try to hide these fields, and they are gone. And if I will use the show, they will be displayed again. So these are 4 convenience APIs that we have added to our visualizer to help you enable, disable, show and hide fields. Another practice that users might find useful is to move around elements on the page. For example, in this page I have the create button, and it's placed on the button, and this is because the only location that I can choose for my buttons in the visualizer is either to put it on the bottom or on the top. But let's say that I want to take this button and put it here in the middle after the reason field, for example. So again, there are methods in jQuery, APIs in jQuery that enables you to do that, to take elements and move them around the DOM. And there are few ways to do that. I will just demo you one of them. You can read and look for the others over the internet. So one way to do it would be to use a method called insert after. So the syntax for that would be to locate the element that you want to move. In our case, it's the button, and then say I want to insert after another element. So let's say that I want to insert this button after this element. So let's see what is the ID of this button. Let's take it, put the name of it, and now it will take the button, remove it from its original place, and put it here. So if I want to change the order of my elements, something that I couldn't do with the visualizer, I can always do that with jQuery. Just take this, just find the correct syntax, put the API call, and add it to my application. And the last thing I want to show you is how I can attach events that does not exist in the visualizer. Right now in the visualizer we have the ability to attach click event to a button, onload event, we can attach click button to select a row in a table. But let's say that I want to add I don't know, a blur event to this field that will do something. So this is again something that I can do with jQuery. I can locate the element, for example, this one, and let's say that I want something that will happen on the blur event. So this is the API for blur event, and here I need to pass a function that will do whatever I want to do. Let's just open an alert when it happens on blur. Okay, so now the event is attached, and if I'll get here to the field and get out of it, it will open my alert right here. And this is to show you that I've now attached a new event to this field. So this is another example of things that you can do with jQuery. And I just wanted to emphasize that you can do everything with your application. Our application, the application that is generated by the visualizer, is pure HTML JavaScript application. It includes the jQuery library. And with this tool, you can do whatever you want with your application because our visualizer supports out of the box many things, but things that does not exist there still can be implemented using JavaScript and jQuery. Thank you very much.